All right. Awakenings is a hybrid community that meets online every Sunday, and we meet in person on the first Sunday of each month. Note that we are now on YouTube. This is where you can find us there, or you can join us on Zoom if you'd like to join virtually. Speaking of virtual, Lisa Tenney is leading virtual meditations on Thursday mornings. If you're interested in joining, email Lisa at lltenney@gmail.com for the Zoom link and the reminder. Meditations um, is a must attend. It's held every third Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern Time online. This season, we've been doing Musica Divina with the music of Kendrick Lamar. May will be the last time that we do this with Kendrick, but it will come back in the fall with other hip hop musicians. It's been a great practice and learning experience, never too late to join. So look for the registration link in the group me and in our newsletter. Even if you're not available to join in May, I'd encourage you to get on the list so that you can hear about the exciting music that will be listened to coming up this fall. On April 25th, Dr. E. Trey Clark will be hosting a virtual meeting on Howard Thurman as a spiritual guide in times of crisis. You can save 10% by using Awakenings discount code of -10. You can scan the QR code to find out more about the event and to register. As I mentioned, we're now on YouTube. I'd like to first thank everyone for helping us to get up to enough subscribers to be able to stream, but we still would love to have your friends and family join us there. So help us grow by subscribing today, by sharing also our channel with your family and friends. We're still looking for support for our media and hybrid gathering team. We're looking for a Zoom room host, YouTube support, and community photographer for first Sundays when we gather in person, and then a hybrid audio visual tech for first Sundays. If you're interested in any of these opportunities, you can fill out an interest form by scanning the QR code here. A guide to moving through biblical hindrances and toward spiritual growth is free to any member of the community as well as anyone else who may be interested. So if you'd like to have access to this guide, you can just scan the QR code, provide your email address, and receive the guide. Also, you can feel free to share this link with anyone else you may know who might be interested. You can find us here once a week, but you can join us in real time any day of the week by joining us in GroupMe. You can join by texting GroupMe to 719-582-4417 or by scanning the QR code here. Finally, if you have any announcements that you'd like to share, please send the details and any graphics or images to info@awakeningsmovement.com. All right. So I've been thinking a lot about what we could do for our community builder today. And as I've mentioned, love has been teaching me a lot this year. And one of the things that it has been teaching me is how I can give love to myself. So the question for today is, how have you loved yourself lately? And so I'll give a small example of one of the things that I have started to do, because I also think that sometimes we think that self love or self care, which I think has gotten to be an industrialized term, has to be something big or something expensive, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So for me, one of the things I started doing is I decided that I would enjoy my patio more. So I live in an apartment on the second floor, and my patio is pretty small, but I have two chairs out there that actually are chairs that my grandmother had at her house before she passed away. So I initially I started just going out there when I felt overwhelmed. I would go sit on the in one of those rocking chairs and just take a deep breath and look at the tree outside of my right outside of my view in the patio. But now I've started to actually make more time to just go out there during the day without my phone, breathe, look at the tree, have a few minutes to myself before I come in. I work from home, so typically it's taking a break from work for a few minutes and then coming back in. So I'm excited to hear any other folks that want to share small ways that they give love to themselves. And I'll write the question in the chat as well.
I would love to share that I have been giving myself permission to sit around and do slow stitching, which is something I have never had the patience or given myself permission to sit for long periods of time, just doing something so slow. And I am happy to say that it has surprised me in the way that I feel more regulated, more at peace. So it's been, I've also coupled with that is 100-day practice. This is 100-day practice, stones and stitches. So I'm also sitting with a stone every day, a different type of stone. And that also has just been really fun.
That's awesome. You know, stones are my love language, so that sounds like an exciting practice. Sarah, I see your hands up.
I love that. Stones are your love language. Absolutely. um, that's awesome, Lisa. Um, so this reminded me because at the moment I am in the same room as the manifestation candle that we made at the beginning of the year, and mine was a lot about my health. And thankfully, I do feel like I have been prioritizing my health, giving myself permission to not rush into a bunch of responsibilities where I'm caring for others immediately after moving here. And actually, I go back and forth on that. I'm like getting like really wanting to get started with some other stuff, but also knowing that the time right now to get myself back in order has been necessary. So, just taking care of my health and moving my body and eating better and things like that.
That's awesome. And I think and I'm noticing you're the second person that said slow in sharing how you were showing yourself love. I didn't say it, but it also, sitting on my patio, has made me have to kind of slow down and assess how am I feeling? Do I need a break? Having that minute without my phone and just slowing down also has helped me to regulate my nervous system. So I love that idea. Anyone else have thoughts about ways that you give love to yourself?
I guess I can go. Sorry. One of the ways in which I give love to myself is by checking in with myself, and like being intentional about journaling and understanding like what I need and how I'm feeling. So, yeah.
Thank you. That's a good one too. It's easy for me to keep running and forget to do that. So that's always a great reminder. All right. Any last thoughts on how you give love to yourself? Go ahead, Brian.
Oh man. Um, well, to the stones thing, the stones being your love language, I also say, like, I go to the arroyo to walk, and I always say I play in the dirt and talk to rocks. Um, and that's a that's a big part of my day because the quartz and things that I find. Um, but the loving myself is the big. This is the undertaking of the moment. So that's but the small thing that I'm trying to do throughout the day is noticing like the reasons that I'm doing things and allowing the reason to be want and there not needing to be another reason. So like I just want to look at this beautiful thing. I just want to taste this. I want to take this longer walk and really seeing what a massive impact that has. I want to drink this out of this cup because it's beautiful and because it feels special. Um, and doing those things throughout the day is really quite transformative in the way that I feel and in noticing how often that has not been my driver, where someone else or a threat or has been what's driving the day. So those are really things like I just sat here to set up and I just want to be looking at this oracle card and I just want to be drinking this drink and looking at this and feeling that. And it's making a big impact in my days.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks everyone
Thank you.
for sharing. We talked about group me. If you haven't said or you're watching us later, we'd also love to hear more in group me about ways that you give love to yourself. So next I'll turn it over to Brooke for the blessing.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. And I'm Brooke, and I'm here in Massachusetts, in Western Massachusetts. And the blessing for this week is inspired by one of someone I met through a friend in Rhode Island who is an urban missionary. Her name is Leslie Moore. You can go watch her TED Talk. But yeah, like my friend was interviewing her, and then she's like, "Oh, Brooke, you should meet me in Rhode Island and hang out with this lady." And so this was about, I guess, 3 or 4 weeks ago. But essentially, this lady is like an urban missionary and a black developer. And she acquired like she has this black block where she owns all these properties, these commercial properties in like Rhode Island. And it was just really inspiring to sit with her and ask her questions. I don't know if any of you heard of John Perkins, but she was inspired by John Perkins's ministry. And but essentially like she started off like as someone who was a kind of like a social worker to support young adults to get their GED. And what she did was like, but this was right around the time of the housing market crash of 2007, 2008. So she ended up like getting this house and like she ended up buying this house and then she would help like form this community with these young adults. And turns out like if you give somebody a safe place to live, that will help them on the GED. Like that will help them academically. And then so then she was able to refinance that house and like buy other properties. And then she went into sort of commercial properties as well, like really to support Black businesses and the thriving of the Black community. And it was just really inspiring because, like, as somebody who's currently in academia, like, I feel like academia does a really good job of like critiquing and complaining about the status quo. But it was really inspiring to see like and to tour her properties and to see how like you don't have to have a lot in order to create, in order to share your wealth or to share or in order to share your resources with other people and to do inspiring work. And because I've been taught like, oh, you have to like take care of yourself first before you help other people. And so yeah, it was just like I feel like I learned so much just like 24 hours of being with her and touring her properties and but also like really understanding the nuances of how do you help a Black community thrive, right? A community in which so much has already been stolen, so much trauma. And but I mean, all that to say, I think it was just a really timely reminder in this time of a lot of uncertainty. Um, like, how can we imagine a better world, but also not, but also like come together? Like, her goal is not to rich herself. She could have like sold this property a long time ago and like to other developers or, and like, but she's really trying to like help the thriving of the Black community. And so, all that to say, yeah, with so much uncertainty, it's like, how do we like really imagine and live and create, not only imagine, but create the world that a better world, right? Like, versus just complaining about what's going on. And so the blessing, so that was all like the backstory of this blessing. So this is what the blessing is. So as a reminder, the blessing is not something that person A gives to person B, but it's something that, we like remind each other of. And so the thing that the blessing for today is that is a mustard seed of faith can move mountains. And so this is inspired by Matthew 17:20, but the blessing is that a mustard seed of faith can move mountains. So yeah, feel free to come off mute or share it in the chat. A mustard seed of faith can move mountains.
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 A mustard seed of faith can
A
move
mustard seed of,
mountains.
a mustard seed of faith can move mountains.
A mustard seed of faith can move mountains.
A mustard seed of faith can move mountains.
Thank you so much for that blessing, Brooke, and also for the timely reminder. Next, I'll turn it over to Mr. Mead for our contemplative moment.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Brooke, for a mustard seed of faith can move mountains. Welcome to our sacred time of sacred scene. We engage today in Visio Divina, the art of beholding. In this holy moment, we open ourselves to the beauty of sacred imagery, allowing reflection to guide our hearts toward the presence of God with us. Visio Divina invites us to encounter the divine through visual meditation, letting His light illuminate the entire of our hearts. By prayerfully beholding each detail, we are drawn into experiencing the love, peace, and hope. Our scripture today comes from Psalms chapter 119, verse 18. Open our eyes to see the wonderful truths in your instructions. So I'd like for you to find a comfortable position. Place your feet flat on the floor, feeling the ground beneath you. Rest your hands in your lap, palms open. Close your eyes or softly lower your gaze. and breathe. Inhale deeply through your nose. Hold the breath for a heartbeat and exhale slowly through your mouth. And release with every breath out. Let the tension in your shoulders melt away. Let your mind settle like still water. Lord, just as you revealed your purpose to Joseph in a dream, we open our hearts to receive your vision for us today. Awaken our spirits to behold your presence in this moment. As you breathe deeply, silently acknowledge that God is near. Imagine the warmth of his love resting upon you, steady and constant, like the light shining through the cool night air. With her eyes still closed, allow a sacred image to rise within your mind's eye. Do not reach for it. Let it find you. May it be a memory of a moment where you felt profound kindness, a color or light that represents peace to you. Gently observe what has appeared. Ask yourself, what do I see? Notice the textures, the light, and the shadows. What do I feel? Is there a sense of awe, humbleness, or a quiet joy? Heavenly Father, just as you open the eyes of seekers throughout the ages, open our eyes now to the truths of your love in this very moment. May our hearts be tender and receptive to your spirit, guiding us to walk in the light of your truth, free, grounded, and transformed by your grace. When you're ready, gently bring your awareness back to the present moment. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Take a final deep breath and slowly open your eyes if they were closed. Thank you, Lord, for the time of sacred seeing. May our eyes remain open to your wonders in the ordinary and the extraordinary, and may our hearts carry your peace and joy into every space we enter. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that, Mr. Mead. Now I'll turn it over to Tia for our truth communication.
Thank you, Tawana. Thank you for taking us through the announcements and the community builder. And also thank you to Brooke for leading our blessing and Mead for guiding us in word. For our contemplative moment, it's very good to be with you all this morning. Good morning to Aisha, who has joined us, and Alicia and Ed and Roz, Susie, Sarah King, hello. Thank you for sharing and engaging. So, there's this quote that is attributed to Thomas Edison, and I've referenced it a few times in our gatherings. The quote is, never go to sleep without a request to your subconscious. Here it says this quote, famously attributed to Thomas Edison, advises setting a specific problem or intention before bed. This practice encourages the subconscious to work on solutions, process information, or foster creative ideas while you sleep, often resulting in insights upon waking. So every once in a while, I make this a habit before I go to bed as part of like a prayer. It's my intention that I set before bed. And so last night, as I was dozing off to sleep, what I requested of my subconscious and of consciousness, greater consciousness of love of the divine, was some clarity and insight on what to share today. So the creative process, sometimes, I have this clarity very early on, and it's like, okay, this is what we're going to visit. And I think coming off of our most recent series, I recognize being in this liminal space of like one thing ending and what is the next thing. So this is why I kind of put this as a seed, so to speak, and a prayer before I doze off to sleep. Hello, Mike Brackens. Good to see you. So when I woke up this morning, the first thought that came across my mind was joy. And I found that interesting. And I also listened to it and got curious about it. And so this is what I want to share today. And I don't know how many of you, because of what's happening in the world, I'll speak for myself. I have found that there have been moments where I have felt hesitation around sharing what's bringing me joy. And so I don't know if I'm alone in that, but I imagine that I am not. That as we see the things that are happening, the atrocities that are taking place, it can feel like sharing the things that bring us joy are, I don't even know the word for it. Like, it's not the time, maybe. It could be seen as um, being unaware of what's going on in the world and kind of like bypassing in some way. So I've been sitting with this, and that's kind of where we're going to go today. So I'm actually going to share from my desktop first because sharing from the other way has not been working for me. So just a reminder that at this point, I can and I cannot see our Zoom room. So as always, I can see it on another screen. So, but my eyes are focused here. So if there is something that you'd like me to go back to or spend a little more time with, then you're welcome to get my attention. You can unmute yourself or raise your hand. I can see those things. And I think leaning into what Tawana noticed in the community builder, kind of this slowness as we move through that, I'll do my best to kind of honor that rhythm. Whenever we get together, we revisit our mission, which is to equip change makers with the tools to look within and actively respond to daily life from a centered place. Hello and good morning, Saj. Welcome. Our core values are connection, inclusiveness, and love. These serve as filters that we put everything through before we offer anything to our community here and the world, the global community at large. Our vision is to serve as a global community using contemplative spirituality to heal, renew, and inspire. And so, what I want to explore today is I know there's Trisha Hersey has talked about rest as resistance, and I would like to add joy as resistance to this kind of wholesome protest that we find ourselves in opportunity of. And so my intention is simply to encourage us to lean into joy, to not give into those temptations that I shared a bit ago about letting the very real heartbreak, destruction, fear, hate that is circulating in our world suffocate the joy that also exists. So, this is where contemplative spirituality comes in handy because it's a time of both and, right? And so, not letting go of one because of the other, but recognizing that both can be occurring and true at the same time. So, our flow, I want to move us into a little bit of a dialogue with Mary Magdalene, which reminds me I need to grab a link. So, I'll do that here in a second. I want to just reinforce this kind of overall theme of joy as resistance, that this is not a time to hide your joy. And then I want to just end with a personal bit of a personal story about how foolish and how wise. As I'm sharing about this, I think there's also an opportunity to recognize that we sometimes treat our sorrows like our joys, like hiding the sorrow because of all of the pain that may be going on in the world. Um, I'm being drawn back to like conversations that I have even with friends where maybe both of us are going through a really difficult time, but one person shares the difficult time first, and so then the other person is like, "Ooh, maybe I'll just hold on to my difficulty considering." And I'm not saying that there's not time and space for that, right? Like um, time to create space to hold the sorrows of friends and families and each other. But what I am saying is not to do that to the point where you quiet your own experience. So I think if we're looking at this as a spectrum, we often treat joy like we treat sorrow, which is in this limited mindset that there is not enough space to share. So that's just a little side note. All right, so in dialogue with Mary Magdalene, this is the time in the liturgical calendar, which I don't often really adhere to that, but I am curious. I did become curious around this topic of joy. We are in what's known as Eastertide, so it's this 40 days after Resurrection Sunday, where Jesus remained on earth after his resurrection. And so I started to think about the disciples and always am drawn to Mary Magdalene. And so John 20:18 says, Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, I have seen the Lord, and she told them that he had said these things to her. So we know Mary Magdalene as the first disciple to share the good news of Jesus's resurrection with the other disciples. She's often known as the disciple who kind of like gets it, in some regard. Like there's all of these instances throughout the Gospels where I'll just use disciples as a collective term, but they aren't something isn't quite landing with the wisdom in them with from the wisdom that Jesus is sharing. And Jesus himself is like, reaches these points where he's like, don't you get it? Like you've been with me this whole time. Like, what's going on? Right. And so I think we can see our, again, in the both and we can see ourselves. Like there are moments where we too may um, be, we may feel like, gosh, it's taken me a minute to get this. It's taken me a minute for this to soak in. And I think the important thing to remember in that is that even in that don't you get itness, Jesus doesn't abandon or give up hope. He stays and they keep doing life together. But Mary Magdalene is the disciple who seems to have this grasp on what Jesus is saying. And she's the one who sticks around outside of the tomb and then delivers the good news. And so, as I was preparing this morning, I wondered what else did Mary Magdalene share? And we've looked at the Gospel of Mary Magdalene before as a community. This is where I'm going to grab the link. But we have what's known as the canonical Gospels. So the New Testament is comprised of the Gospel of Matthew, John, Paul, Luke. And much later, there is this discovery of what's known as the Gnostic Gospels, which includes the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Mary. And so I recognize that this might be new information for some of us. And so, what I want to share with you is the link. Let me go to Google. Excuse me, while you have to see my Google search. So, this is the website that I'm sharing from today. And the reason why I'm putting this link in here is for this tab that says context, because while we're here, it has responses to questions that you may be wondering if this is new to you. So, what is the Gospel of Mary? What's the message of the Gospel of Mary? Is it an authentic Christian text? Why was it not included in the New Testament? So, this is one resource. I, of course, encourage you, if you feel curious, to explore other resources. But if you are curious, then let me put this in the chat. Oh, my mouse disappears, y'all. Sorry. Now it's frozen. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll get it in the chat. Here we go. Oh my gosh. Why? What? Okay. I'll get in the chat before we end our gathering. I promise. So, what we're looking at is the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. So, I'm taking this verse from John where she is telling the disciples about Jesus's resurrection. And now I'm moving into her gospel as a way to gather more context around the story. So, the thing to know about the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is that there are pages that are missing. Here comes Walter. Yes, Lisa says the technical difficulties in sharing Mary Magdalene is very on brand. Thank you. So what I would share from today is there are these pages that are missing. And so I want to bring us to page 9 as we think about the both and of both our sorrows and our joys. And so, is there a volunteer to read this? This is, probably more than we typically like share as a verse, but if someone would feel comfortable unmuting and reading, we would
I can
appreciate
Do
do
not
that.
lay down any rules other than what I have given you. Do not establish more laws like the lawmaker, or else you too will become constrained by them. Once he said these things, he departed from them. The disciples grieved bitterly, shedding many tears, and saying, how are we supposed to go out preaching to the rest of the world, proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom of the Son of Man? If they do not spare him, then what will become of us? Then Mary rose up. She embraced them all, kissing them tenderly, and began to speak to her brothers and sisters. There is no need to remain stuck in sorrow, grief, and doubt, for his grace will be with you all. It will guide you, comfort you, shelter, and protect you. Rather, let us be thankful and praise his greatness, for he has brought us together and prepared us for this. Through him, we too can become fully human. Saying these things, Mary turned their hearts inward toward the good, and they began to wrestle with the meaning of the Savior's words and to discuss his sayings.
Thank you, Saj. Oh, yeah, God is funny. Only in hearing Saj read this did it come to my attention that the very last line says, Mary turned their hearts inward toward the good. When I read this, I read it as Mary turned their hearts inward toward God. That my mind just saw it that way. But I find it even more interesting now, considering this topic of joy, that it actually says Mary turned their hearts inward toward the good. So thank you, Saj, for your willingness to read um, for us. And there are a few things. I mean, maybe you, in the style of Lectio, have a few things that kind of stand out to you as you've heard this passage. But there are a couple of things that I want to bring our attention to today from page 9 of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which obviously starts with her sharing uh, words from Jesus, right? And then it moves into this recognition of their sorrow, their grief, their doubt. And it says that she rises up, if we can lean into our imagination for this. This feels like an important thing to note as part of the post-resurrection experience. She rises up, embraces them all, kisses them tenderly, and she speaks to her brothers and sisters. There is no need to remain stuck in sorrow, grief, and doubt. She names their emotions as things to feel, not places to remain, which I think is very counter to what we experience in today's society, right? We often are met with, why are you sad? This idea of toughening up. We're often encouraged to hide our emotions or speed through them. But here she's doing this really beautiful thing. And in holding them, is also speaking to how they feel. And in a way, giving permission to say that this is normal to feel this way. The words are used, don't remain stuck here. There's no need to remain stuck here, that this is something, a feeling that we're moving through. It's not a place to remain. And so, what does this mean for us today when systems seem set on perpetuating fear, violence, division, hate, misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, war? The list just goes on and on and on. As I was putting this together, thinking back only to November of last year. Is that when the election was? That doesn't even account for, like, the history before that. But as I was thinking of just the executive orders, the nonsense, the foolishness, the very real violence that has been perpetuated since not limited to, but just in this very short amount of time with the change in administration, it's like it's very difficult to uh, I mean, there's just always some headline. And so I was thinking about like what this does to our nervous system, and how what it does to us psychically is what Mary is trying to share with her brothers and sisters. It can help, it can make us feel stuck. And so she's saying there's no need to remain stuck. No need to remain stuck. So Mary offers a space where they can acknowledge their grief, and then she redirects them to each other and how they are equipped. She says, "For he has brought us together and prepared us for this." So there's space for the heavy emotion, and then there's this redirection on, hey, we get this. We are together and we've been prepared for this. And in some way, I think that this goes in tandem with the Gospel of John, which says, "Very truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father." So here Mary rises, and she is not only speaking to, but embodying this message of, we have purpose, we have been prepared, we have each other. Our sorrow, our grief, our fear is not the place where we are to be stuck. We are to move. And the path that she offers as a way of movement is through thanksgiving and praise. And so this is how it reads. "There is no need to remain stuck in sorrow, grief, and doubt, for his grace will be with you all. It will guide you, comfort you, shelter and protect you. Rather, let us be thankful and praise his greatness." I again, this is not like an either or. There's this moment of comfort and consolation, and then there's this redirection through this gratitude and this praise. And so this gets me thinking about current sorrows, current griefs, current heartbreak, that not only are being experienced on a collective level, but life keeps lifing. And so I know that everyone, the saying is that everyone is fighting some battle. And to keep that in mind as we consider how we treat each other. But I think when I woke up this morning and this joy kind of came as like a poster board, so to speak, that this is not a time to hide your joy. When you hide your joy during a collective dark night, you are succumbing to the pattern of the world. So if the commentary in your mind, in our mind, myself included in this, is that things are so bad, I can't actually share my joy. Well, then what that's doing is suffocating joy as a creative energy, joy as an act of resistance, joy as our capacity to incite change. And as we all know from Romans 8:12, we are not here to conform to that pattern, but to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So being aware of the pattern, letting the sorrow, heartbreak, etc., be something that we face head on, and also knowing that there is room for our joys. Mary Oliver says, joy is not meant to be a crumb in one of her poems. And I think that's a very powerful statement, that we often look at joy as I don't know, something that we have to kind of handle with some amount of discernment. And again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but if we think of the blessing was about the mustard seed, right? That our joy has the capacity to expand just as a mustard seed does. And so it's not meant to be a crumb. Joy is to be shared, not in spite of what's happening in the world, but because of what's happening in the world. I was on a call. Some of you have met Oki. She came here for the Awakening's 20th year anniversary, and she hosts this call once a week called Celebration Circles. And when I'm able to pop in, I do. And this Friday I joined it. And she creates a space where you can share a win. And there were, I don't know, a handful of us. There were 4 of us on the call. So a little handful of us on the call. But as I sat in that space, I recognized or remembered the creative energy that exists when we share our celebrations, when we share our joy. And so why not have the audacity during this time to let that be an environment that we soak ourselves in? If the world can be so audacious to perpetuate and create through fear, then as followers of Christ, as people who lean into the wisdom of Jesus, are we not invited to be just as audacious in creating change? So these are the questions that I hold, and also the story that I want to share as I move towards closing is how foolish and how wise. One of the most foolish and wisest things I've done so far is to believe that joy could change my life. Many of you have been companions, witnesses, community in this relationship that I've been exploring with joy for almost a decade now. But for those of you that may not be aware, originally when I was let go from my sports marketing job, I a lot of my time had been spent listening to podcasts. And one of those podcasts was the Robcast by Rob Bell. And he said, I don't know when or where I heard this, it might have been in a book, but he said that joy is the creative power of the universe. And that really struck me. Joy is the creative power of the universe. And it struck me so that I actually felt curious, maybe moved, invited to test it. And he shares this based off of the creation story that God looks at everything God creates and says that it is good, that God rejoices in what God creates. God finds joy in what God creates. So I started to think, okay, Rob Bell, if this is true, if joy is the creative energy of the universe, and I'm not saying there aren't other creative energies, we see what fear is creating in the world, but if joy is a creative energy, and I have just been let go from my job, and I am privileged enough and have prepared enough that I know for at least 40 days, see the number there, that I'll be able to keep food on the table and a roof over my head, then I'm going to be audacious enough to not look for another job. I am going to focus on the things, the work that brings me joy. Now, this is not to say it has been an easy road. This is not to say that savings haven't been drained. This is to say I leaned into this 40 days and said, all right, what are the things that bring me joy? This was February 2017. Contemplative spirituality is one, and Awakenings created a space for me to host a centering prayer gathering. And then I was also offered a part-time role, which provided some compensation. So I said, okay, I'm going to lean into that. I had, at that time, paid off all of my debt except for my home. And so I said, there's a freedom here and a joy that I would like to share with others. And so I started doing these financial freedom workshops. So that was the second thing. And then the third thing I did, mind you, the year that I mentioned, this is 2017. So this is a time post 2016 election that was very close to where we are post this most recent election. I was infuriated by the results of the 2016 election. And there was a lot of reasons why I was angry, but most of my anger came from the talk of building a wall, funding a wall, all of the fear around that, why it was necessary. And so the third thing that I did was I said, okay, my protest to this is not going to be to build walls, but to build bigger tables. And so I started this company called Joy to the Table, where I took my little seamstress knowledge and I sewed table runners and placemats. Thank you to those of you that supported Joy to the Table. Uh, and the idea here was that we could come together, have a meal, share something that brought us joy, and let that be what brings us together. So Joy to the Table was really my protest, and it was like my secret church. Because also there was lots of people leaving church at that time. So I'm like, what are the, what are some of the aspects of church? Break bread, be with community, share stories, right? So it was like church in a bottle and a protest at the same time. So one of the most foolish and wisest things I've ever done so far is to believe that joy could change my life, because I'm sharing with you that this became or started out as a 40-day, experiment, a 40-day, like, joy is the creative energy of the universe. Really? Okay, let's see. And, the road has not always been smooth. But now here I am, almost 9 years later, really living into one of those things very heavily that I lived into through the 40 days. So, I'm not sewing anymore. Occasionally, I will visit with folks about the financial freedom thing, but it's not something that I'm actively, sharing or engaging with. The contemplative spirituality part is. So, you can do with that what you would wish on this day, but I share from experience that joy is a creative energy, and it has changed my life. And because I recognize that we are all connected, you know, that leaning into joy was during a very disruptive period of my life. I shared I had been fired, right? Um, there were relationships with uh, partners and people that were close to me that were falling apart. Like this was a time when what I really needed spiritually, emotionally, psychologically was to feel what Mary did, which was to be held, to be to let my sorrows be recognized, but to know that I wasn't to be stuck there. So it's the both and. So I use Mary as a kind of an example to go into the pattern of the cosmos, that everything is held. And I want to let Dr. Barbara Holmes lead us into closing and the exploration of this pattern. So this is from her book. This is the late Dr. Barbara Holmes. This is from Joy Unspeakable, Contemplative Practices of the Black Church. In the afterword, she says, according to cosmologist Brian Swimme, all of humankind needs to be held. The universe has a method of doing that through such physical phenomena as gravity, the amniotic sac that holds us until birth, the atmospheric ozone layer that cradles the earth and protects it. I know Rebecca's Truth Communication, she talked about these layers of protection that the earth has. The skin that we are in that keeps our innards from falling out, and the air that we breathe that surrounds and envelops us. Just prior to that, there's this passage that says, accordingly, our obsession with blame and with the question of who is or is not worthy of God's full embrace disrupts the journey. For we are not headed toward a single goal. We are on a pilgrimage toward the center of our hearts. It is in this place of prayerful repose that joy unspeakable erupts. Joy unspeakable erupts when you least expect it, when the burden is greatest, when hope is gone, after bullets fly. It rises on the crest of impossibility. It sways to the rhythm of steadfast hearts and celebrates what we cannot see. This joy beckons us not as individual monastics, but as a community. It is a joy that lives as comfortably in the shout as it does in the silence. It is expressed in the diversity of personal spiritual disciplines and liturgical rituals. This joy is our strength, and we need strength because we are well into the 21st century and we are not healed. Joy is our strength, and we need strength because we are well into the 21st century and we are not healed. So, I would invite you, if you haven't been in the practice of taking a moment to recognize the things that bring you joy. Tawana started off our community builder with this invitation around how have you loved yourself lately? So I feel like this is maybe a good bookend for the community builder. What is bringing you joy? The way that this crazy business protest church in a bottle worked was you gathered around a table, which you don't necessarily have to do that. But there were these little cards that were included, and the invitation was when you did sit down to write down one thing that brought you joy that day, and then to share that with your table mates. And then those cards got dropped into a jar that then became this collection of joyful moments that could be referenced later on when needed. And so we still have a jar full of joy here on our kitchen, like the bar area. So that's my invitation to you at this moment as a way to engage and live into what has been shared here. So if you feel comfortable, you're welcome to unmute and share something that is bringing you joy and or drop it in the chat. So thinking of joy as a creative power in the universe, share some of that power with us before we sign off.
Good morning, everyone. This is Andrea, and Night and Knox have brought me joy because everybody would be like, why would you want to get puppies again? But from having the puppies, because they are double coated, I have to get up early to walk them so they can get their walk in. So by getting the walk in, on most days I get to see the sunrise. And during our walk time, that has turned into meditation, and I get a lot of downloads and my instructions for God for the day. So it has really turned into a beautiful experience for me to share time with them. So they bring me joy.
Thank you, Andrea.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Walter.
Hey, so I'll share like one of the things that bring me joy. To be able to create music and create art, to be in the studio creating, and also to share it. Whether it's just simply releasing it or going out and performing it. So yeah, that brings me joy.
Thank you, Walter.
Yep, thank you.
I was going to say the same thing about art, and I also have recently gotten a couple of new prints from artists and hung them up in my office. So it's bringing me joy to just, while I'm working, look up and be able to see my new artwork on the wall.
Thank you, Tawana.
Also, the PTO time I have coming up this week.
Hey, hello, PTO time.
The PTO time I have coming up this week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And Wednesday night, as you can see, where I put my name, yeah, that's who I'll be. That's
Are
who
you
I'll be
going to
hosting.
Bruno Mars?
Yes, I am.
Oh my gosh, Walter, Bruno Mars and the Michael Jackson movie comes out this week.
Yes, and I got my ticket for the movie too.
I know you do. I know your joy cup is running over.
So yeah, so I would, and I would likely be in my feelings while watching that movie because I actually got a chance to see Michael Jackson
Wow.
twice in my life. Once when I was about maybe 5 or 6, it was him and his brothers, and
Mm-hmm.
then my mother took me to see him when he went on his first and only North American solo tour during the Bad era.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it was awesome. It was a memorable experience. So yeah, I'm mentally. I mean, I'm gonna be there mentally watching the movie and everything, but I have a feeling that I'm also gonna, just remember, like, just I'm probably gonna see it through the eyes of my 12 or 13-year-old self, which was the last time I
Hmm.
saw Michael Jackson live in concert.
Well,
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy both things, the concert and the movie. And
Yeah,
I
I've
like,
been avoiding those, people record concerts and post footage of the concerts on
yes.
YouTube. I've been avoiding that with the Bruno Mars concert for the most part.
Okay. No spoilers.
Yeah,
Well,
no
let us
sport.
know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
Aisha says, dancing with my dog and singing loud and off key to old school music. Yes. The ordinary, or Kiana, the ordinary and mundane of daily life has been bringing me so much joy. Thank you, Q. Sarah King is exploring her new city and playing volleyball. Lisa Tenney is coming back from the waiting room. So this, oh, go
So,
ahead. Hey, Farrell.
hey, how are you?
Good.
What's bringing me joy? And it's such I just can't believe I'm having this, but it's just enjoying my job and enjoying being a pharmacist. My dad was a pharmacist, so he wanted one of us to be a pharmacist. And honestly, it was just hard, just with corporate America and I guess things like that. But I'm back in corporate pharmacy, and again, I'm working for a grocery store chain, and I'm just telling you. It's fun. It's fun. It gives me joy. I wake up, I feel like I'm getting paid to wear dresses and just be joyful. And God just said, just be joyful. Just be joyful. And it's just such a pleasant, I just keep pinching myself. My dad's he's transitioned, but I talked to him and I said, Dad, I found a fun pharmacy job. This is so joyful and fun, and the people are wonderful, and I get to share all my knowledge that I have, and they really they listen to it and they implement it. And I mean, it's just I wake up and I just pinch myself because it's just joyful to go to work. It's like, yay, it's Monday, yay. And I never thought in a million years I would feel that way about pharmacy. So
Yeah.
I'm just very pleasantly surprised and joyful and happy about it. And that's how I'm
Yeah.
going to heal the world. God told me from this point on, I'm just to be joyful, no matter what. So it was nice with your sermon. And he goes, that's it. Your purpose is just to be joyful and happy. It's like, wow. And I heard that like probably maybe 6 months ago. And I just knew it was him. But then you in the sermon just confirmed that. I mean, I didn't need the confirmation, but it's like, wow, that's what you're supposed to do. Joy.
Farrell, not I haven't heard many people say, "Yay, it's Monday. I'm going to a job that I love."
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that joy with
I haven't
us.
said that in a long, long time myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh,
It's
Lord.
possible. So I believe it for you guys. You're going to find a
Yay,
place where
yay.
you wake up and just
Just
so
yay,
excited.
it's Monday.
Yes, it
Yay,
is.
it's Monday. It's a revolutionary thought
Yeah.
for, yeah, okay. Uh, Saj says, beginning my nursing school journey has been bringing me joy. Uh, Carlos says, what the future holds brings me joy. Ed, walking in my driveway with my wife in the evenings and when the sun goes down. Elisa, I see you're off camera. Did you want to follow up on the joy you are bringing and receiving?
I was going to say, well, I'm going to have to, now I have to add, of course, my husband as well. I wanted to say the community that is being cultivated here and the truth communications have brought me a lot of joy.
Oh, thank you. And praise God.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And I would also say I'm sitting outside. Um, I'm a gardener. I am aspiring to be one. I'm working really hard at it. And I love sitting outside in my yard, listening to the birds and just enjoying the plants that are around me. So that brings me a lot
Mm.
of joy.
Secunda says doing creative work. Okay, thank you all for sharing. Yeah, Elisa mentioned gardening. We planted, I think I shared here that we are starting these little garden boxes. We had a dog that we adopted. Her name was Olive, and she passed away a few years ago. And she loved being like, I called her my spirit animal. But what we have done as a way to honor Olive, who we lost through like just a crazy medical thing, is we're creating Olive's garden in our backyard. And so we have planted strawberries and blueberries, cucumbers and corn. And so I'm getting a lot of joy because one, just doing that with Kennedy has been fun. Um, but two, both Kennedy and I, we go out there every day and we like look at the soil, like, has anything, has anything popped up? And the first little things of sprouts of corn and cucumber have come through the soil. And so that's bringing me a lot of joy. So thank you all for sharing. Yeah, we'll move to prayer requests and the offering moment. Just sharing a quick update when it comes to where we stand. Oh, this is an old slide. In January, truth communication. Where things are before we close in prayer in relation to our offering moment. So our April budget is $5,160. Our April giving is at $2,921. The ways that you can invest in our community are through Cash App, Venmo, Secure Give. On Cash App, we are Awakenings Movement. On Venmo, we are Awakenings Inc. Secure Give is an app that you can navigate to through our website, awakeningsinc.org. And Secure Give also has a text to give option. So you text the word awakening and the amount to 832-481-4434. And Secure Give will send an automated message back to you letting you confirm your gift. So thank you all for the ways you continue to invest and so into this community and to each other. I am going to not pause, I'm going to stop our recording. And if there are prayer requests or things that you